Almost 4 years before India officially won its independence, the national tricolour was raised over a remote island in the Bay of Bengal, a place that had served for decades as a brutal British penal colony. The date was December 30th, 1943. The location was Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman Islands. Subhas Chandra Bose, the supreme commander of the Indian National Army, arrived to formally claim the territory. Earlier versions of an Indian national flag had been designed and flown before, most notably in Calcutta in 1906 and in Germany the following year. But those were protests and diplomatic gestures. This event in Port Blair marked the first time the flag flew over Indian soil that had been actively wrested from British control. By raising the flag here, Bose's Provisional Government of Free India secured a piece of land to govern. The fight for independence had transitioned from an ideological campaign into a physical, geographic reality. The Andaman Islands sit isolated in the ocean, hundreds of miles from the Indian mainland. For the British Empire, this geographical distance made it an ideal remote outpost. It was here that colonial authorities constructed the Cellular Jail, an inescapable facility explicitly designed to isolate, break, and house Indian political prisoners. Inmates were forced into hard labor, fed poor rations, and subjected to systemic torture. Many freedom fighters died in these solitary cells, dreaming of the independence they were punished for seeking. Arriving at this specific site carried immense psychological weight. Bose directly compared the prison to the Bastille in Paris, viewing its capture as a necessary first step in setting a captive nation free. He immediately set to work dismantling the colonial legacy, officially renaming the Andaman Islands Shahid, meaning martyr, and the Nicobar Islands Swaraj, meaning self-rule. By claiming the islands, Bose took the British Empire's ultimate mechanism of imprisonment and transformed it into India's very first beacon of liberation. This moment, however, was only possible because of the broader logistics of the Second World War. By early 1942, the Japanese imperial forces were aggressively expanding across the Pacific theater. British forces in the Bay of Bengal found themselves highly vulnerable. As the Japanese Navy advanced, colonial defenses collapsed. Port Blair fell in March 1942. The remaining British personnel were forced to surrender, leaving the islands entirely under Japanese military control. Bose recognized an opportunity. He formed a pragmatic alliance with Japanese Prime Minister Hideki Tojo and the military high command to secure backing for his Azad Hind government. This partnership culminated in a geopolitical agreement in late 1943, where Japan announced it would hand over nominal jurisdiction of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands to Bose's provisional state. Through this complex wartime alliance, Bose acquired the critical physical territory required to fulfill his promise to the Indian National Army, that they would set foot on free Indian soil before the year ended. But the ideological high of the flag-hoisting ceremony masked a starkly different administrative reality on the ground. Despite the official handover, the provisional government had little real authority. The Japanese Imperial Army ruthlessly maintained complete control over the military, the navy, and the local police force. Bose appointed General A.D. Loganathan as the governor of the islands, but Loganathan quickly found himself sidelined. Stripped of meaningful power, he was relegated to managing vestigial civic duties, like the education department. Meanwhile, the local population suffered immensely under Japanese occupation. The islanders endured forced labor, systemic torture, and executions, culminating in tragedies like the Humphrey Ganj massacre, where dozens were shot on suspicion of spying. It created a tragic paradox. The islands stood as the first beacon of a free India in name, yet they remained a brutally subjugated war zone in practice. Today, that complex history is codified into the national memory. The Sankalp Smarak Memorial now stands in the islands, and Port Blair itself has been renamed Sri Vijayapuram to shed its colonial legacy. The government continues to honor the event, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi personally visiting the islands to hoist the tricolour and mark the 75th anniversary in 2018. But the flag raised in the winds of the Andamans proved that the promise of a free India had at last taken physical form.